Okay, welcome to the Unapologetic show. For this, I'm Justice, your host. I want to bring you an urgent message. I know the government shutdown has been suspended for 15 days, so most people might be ecstatic, especially if you're getting some sort of government subsidy or you work for the government. But I'm here to tell you, don't get excited too fast or too quickly. Today I want to talk to you about food stamps, especially if you're on food stamps. I will have a separate message for those who are not on food stamps, but if you're on food stamps, I want you to listen carefully, take notes, do your own research. I want you to know this channel is for informational purposes. I am not a financial advisor, but I do study history. I have studied history. You should study history and understand that history repeats itself, and for good reason, because we don't change. So we need to change, and we need to start doing things the right way. Today's topic: before you spend all of your food stamps. Now, to my understanding, everyone who has food stamps receive 2 months of subsidy in January, so they receive a subsidy for January and February. That means if the government shutdown continues in March, there will not be another round of subsidies. Now, why is this important? Why is this urgent? The reason why it's important and urgent is because how will you feed your family if you're on food stamps? How will you feed your family if you don't get a subsidy in March? Have you spent all of your subsidy? If you have, I feel sorry for you. And I hope that everything works out. If you haven't, it's not too late to start thinking about what I'm getting ready to tell you. So as I noticed this thing coming around and coming down the pipeline, I thought to myself, what happens if food prices increase? Because that's where this thing is going if the government shutdown continues. And after the 15 days in February, food prices will increase eventually. Probably not right away, but they will eventually. But if you're on food stamps, you're in a totally different situation because you have to start thinking about this now, because you may not have the income to feed your family for whatever reason. And I'm not here to judge you. I'm here to try to give you information to look into. So here's what I did. I went to Home Depot and bought buckets for storage with tops. Now, I'm not endorsing or promoting Home Depot. You go get buckets from wherever you can get buckets, okay? If you already have buckets, don't buy new buckets. Use buckets that you have, but buckets that you can keep dry and store properly, and preferably that you can stack. I bought buckets. Again, I bought buckets from Home Depot. The next thing I did is I went to the stores that I like to go to, and I found the most reasonable prices for items I use regularly. For example, whole wheat flour, dry active yeast, sugar, salt for preservation purposes and flavoring, rice, beans. Okay? This is what I did. Why did I do this? Because if food prices increase, I know I have a supply of food put away in case of an emergency. And these things have a long shelf life. So you should be thinking about this if you have food stamps. Why? Because filling your freezer with meats, okay, and you can't just survive off of meats, is not going to help you if this government shutdown lasts, say, May, June, July. It's a possibility. I'm not saying it will happen, but it's a possibility. So you have to think, if you have small children or elderly adults or whomever you have to feed, you have to start thinking about how will you be able to feed them if you don't have the subsidy. Again, let me say this again. It's urgent. It's urgent. that the next steps that you think about taking, I cannot tell you what to do, but the next steps that you think about taking is figuring out a way to store in case of an emergency. And we see this in nature: ants, squirrels, and every other type of creature, even cats, okay, big cats. Say for example, a leopard, when it catches a gazelle or an antelope, it eats some and then it stores the rest in the tree. Even the animals are wise enough to have storage. What about us? So we have to be mindful of these things. Again, I'm going to keep this short and sweet, so I'm getting ready to close this video. But I want you to think about this. If that government subsidy called SNAP, food stamps, does not continue, will you be able to feed your family? Okay? Do something. And do something now before it's too late. God bless.